Hi everybody, I'm going to be reading my college textbook on psychology today for you. I need to put out a video, so I thought this would be a good idea. Problem solving is defined as a use of information to meet a specific goal. As shown in figure 10.3, problem solving begins with recognizing a problem exists. You now weigh too much, followed by the development and use of strategies that solve it. You go on a diet, and the evaluation of the success of those strategies. You have either lost the holiday weight or not. Ill-defined problems require additional thought about what constitutes an acceptable solution and how the solution should be justified. Reconfiguring an ill-defined problem into a set of well-defined problems can be helpful. If your ill-defined problem is to improve your appearance, you could divide this into well-defined problems like returning to your pre-holiday weight, eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, and running at least 10 miles per week. Effective problem solving puts thinking processes to work in a systematic way, because good problem solving skills are so important to psychological well-being, and we will examine the process in detail using these 4 steps. 1. Understand the problem. 2. Make a plan. 3. Carry out the plan. And 4. Look back. Given the close relationship between cognitive psychology and computer science, we should not be too surprised to see this problem-solving process as a type of looping computer program. If we reach step 4 and our solution is taking us to where we want to go, we stop. If we reach step 4 and our problem still exists, we return to earlier steps to try another solution or generate new solutions. This looping of steps, reminiscent of looping statements in computer programs, continues until the problem is resolved, as we might see when we learn by trial and error. Although carefully formulating a problem takes time, this is generally time well spent. All relevant data should be collected, analyzed, and organized. What do we know? What information do we need that is missing? How does all this information fit together? An important part of this step is to represent or frame the problem in a useful way. What does it mean to represent a problem? Early in this chapter, we talked about forming mental representations of experiences that subsequently can be manipulated by the mind. In the case of problem solving, the mental representations we form relate to how we see the problem. For example, you might represent your weight problem as a result of your holiday splurge, or as a result of a broken bathroom scale. Your representation of the problem in these 2 ways clearly leads to separate solutions, and in many cases, your representation will determine how successfully you will be at solving the problem. Psychologists have identified a number of helpful suggestions for making the most useful representations of problems and for avoiding some common mistakes that frequently lead to failure. For example, big, long-term problems are easier to solve if they have approachable, thorough components or immediate goals. Your primary goal in college is to obtain a degree, but it is useful to consider how you plan to meet intermediate goals such as completing your general education courses, your major courses, and electives. The representation of a problem can be improved by recognizing personal bias you might have towards particular solutions. In our weight example, your reluctance to cut back on treats might lead you to conclude that the bathroom scale is at fault instead of your behavior. Your amount of self-efficiency or belief in your abilities to succeed might also influence the way you conceive a problem. You might believe that your attempts to diet never work, so there is no point in even trying. By recognizing these biases, you can approach your problem with a more open and fair mind. Another pitfall that interferes with a useful representation of a problem is known as functional fixedness, or a person's tendency to think about a concept in its most typical form and no others. For example, in the string problem illustrated in 10.4, most people fail to see the potential of the screwdriver as a weight. Instead, they tend to think about the screwdriver in terms of a typical use as a tool to turn screws.